Y'all, don't worry about these white South Africans coming here. They about to be the new help. You heard me. They are about to be the new help. They got rid of all the people tending the land. All the immigrants that were tending the land are gone. So what they about to do, replace them with the white South African workers. Y'all gonna be working to feed black folks.
Make this make sense. Trump wants to get rid of all the black and brown immigrants in this country, but yet he wants to import white refugees from South Africa. Make it make sense.
What is up, YouTube? My name is Happiness and welcome to my channel. So we're gonna react to Afrikaners who were giving refugee status to go and live abroad in America. Okay, so let's check out these videos and then we'll come back for our own opinion. I like to give my own opinion first, but you know what, I'll give it last. So let us hear from what people have to say, because what is important is that what we hear from Americans on what their feeling is about, and also what South Africans, and we're gonna include black South Africans and white South Africans also. So we're gonna hear from them on their feelings of this, and then we'll be right back.
The president has shown support for South African refugees that are coming to the United States next week. Can you talk about what these refugees are fleeing and why this is a priority for the administration?
Well, the president has actually signed an executive order on that matter. My office can get it back to you, Michael. This group in South Africa has faced racial persecution. In fact, the government there has vowed to take away their farmland that they own. And so the president has talked significantly about this. As for further details on refugee claims and asylum claims, I would defer you to the State Department.
Is Trump a racist?
Well,
in your mind?
I think that Donald Trump has done things that have only exacerbated racial disparities, have created more problems there that are not in furtherance of equal treatment under the law, that do not promote equality. And
are you avoiding calling him a racist, or you just don't think he is?
I don't think my job is to name call, Jim. I don't think it's productive right now. My job is to deliver for people in the state.
To the 50 Afrikaners who fled to the US, calling themselves refugees, you are not refugees. You are just a case study of white flight dressed up as martyrdom. You're not escaping violence, you're escaping equality. South Africa didn't chase you away. You ran. Yes, South Africa is one of the most violent countries in the world. Yes, brutality exists. But let's be honest, violence affects all communities, not just white farmers. Black, colored, Indian, and yes, white people are all targets of a national crime crisis. What we have is a breakdown in safety, not a white genocide. This is not ethnic cleansing, it's criminal collapse, and running to the US won't fix it. You are part of a 7% minority, but somehow still manages to control over 70% of the wealth. That is not persecution, that's privilege on a guilt trip. And let's be real, if we tried to relocate just half of the Afrikaans population, it would take decades, billions in logistics, and you'd still end up culturally homeless in a country that don't want your apartheid baggage. You're not brave, you're not victims. You're scared of a world where you don't get to be in charge, and that makes the rest of the Afrikaans community cringe, because you make us look weak. South Africa is broken, and it's our problem to solve. So if you don't have the spine to do so, stay gone.
Well, we're moving to America. Do you need help packing? Like, we'll come together, bro. I'll bring the boxes, the tape. I'll get some guys to come help. You know, we'll make a day of it. I'll pack your.
Without any drama, I have a question to all the South African refugees, the Afrikaner refugees that just landed in the United States. Right? So now that the South African court has abolished the rule of dual citizenship in South Africa, what are you guys going to do when things doesn't work out in the States? My question is, where are you guys going to go now? Because as soon as you gain citizenship in the States, you're not allowed to have citizenship in South Africa anymore. It's the law now. And if I'm not mistaken, refugees can't return to the country where they ran from, if that's the correct word. So my main question is, where are you guys gonna run to when stuff don't work out for you in the States? Where are you guys gonna run to when Trump's 4-year term is over and the new president decides he doesn't want you there? Exactly like Trump did with the Mexicans, where he just deported a bunch of Mexicans for no reason. Students, normal people that are citizens of the United States that were deported just because they are Mexican. So yeah, my question is, where are you guys gonna run to next? Because you guys just left behind 100 years of culture because you are either racist or you're afraid of change or you're afraid to fight for this country because you believe in the propaganda of the media. But yeah, you do you, I'll do me. I'll stay a son of the soil and I'll die here. Let's see where you get buried, because I know I'll be buried in South Africa, but currently you guys don't know.
Y'all, don't worry about these white South Africans coming here. They about to be the new help. You heard me. They are about to be the new help. They got rid of all the people tending the land. All the immigrants that were tending the land are gone. So what they about to do, replace them with the white South African workers. Y'all gonna be working to feed black folks. As y'all should. Get y'all here and do y'all got. Y'all think y'all getting away from us. Y'all not. Y'all just gonna be working for us. Come on in the room. See, Trump knew he couldn't get our. There's no way in hell you gonna get black folks out there to work no kind of land. He could say, hey, these South Africans are being suppressed. Their land is being taken away from them. They need to come over here and seek retribution and get y'all in the field where the belong. Make sure y'all picking every vegetable and don't miss out on anything. Y'all not getting away from black folks. Y'all gonna be around us a lot more. And unlike the ones in South Africa, we don't give. You're not gonna be able to call us colored. You're gonna get your dome rocked. So be careful, tread lightly. And remember, we don't see you as African. We see you as colonizers of an apartheid. Welcome to America.
Mr. Crump, I was wondering if I'm able to get one of those whites only checks that you're about to cut for those white South Africans that's about to come over here, because I know you about to cut them a check. I know they about to get the houses and the cars and the monies and stuff. And I was just wondering, because I'm an American and I'm already here. You know, I've been here. I was born here. My family was and everything. And all of us, like, we struggle every damn day. And I'm not the only one. There's some other Americans here too. They all over the internet. So if you can find them, they here. They locally. Mr. Crump, we are suffering already. You already have a problem here that hasn't been fixed. Like, you know, homelessness, jobless, like no money, starving, stuff like that. Like little problems like that. I feel like that you could probably fix. But you gonna fix it for them South Africans. They about to have, you know, it easy. And I was just wondering if maybe you could have a little time to squeeze us up in there some type of way, you know, as the American people, like the problem that you haven't solved yet here. I was just wondering if you could squeeze us in and cut us one of those whites only checks that you're about to cut, because we struggling here. We refugees in our own country. And I just wondered if you thought about us when you was, you know what I'm saying. Can we get one of those? Can we get some of that you about to hand out?
So you mean to tell me that Trump has been deporting immigrants, deeming them criminals, saying that they don't belong in our country, but he's gonna welcome South African refugees into our country? Let's make that make sense. How can you deport people that's been here years on years, saying that they not fit to live in our country? They're criminals, they're wife beaters, they're gang affiliates. You deport them and then welcome white South Africans? Let's make that make sense, man. Make that make sense. The only thing that's really making sense to me now is when he's saying, make America great again. It's only to make America white again. He want to segregate America. And then South Africa just got through segregation in 94 or something like that. So now you're going to welcome South Africans over here and deem them fit. But immigrants that's been here years on years, you deem them unfit for the country. So you want them to go back. But you more than welcome people to come over. Those are migrants as well. They're gonna migrate to our country, and it's okay because they are white skinned. This is some bullshit. I guess that's what he say, make America great again. He's gonna make America white again. And all of you motherfuckers that voted for him, especially you black motherfuckers, you voted for this white man that don't give a damn about the country. He don't give a damn about any U.S. citizen. The only thing he cares about is lining his pockets. The billionaires, the millionaires. He care about those people that's up the ladder. Anybody that's beneath him, he don't give a dang about them. And he's showing you this right now. So, make America great again. It's the best slogan of make America white again. Let's segregate America. I don't understand it. Let's make that make sense.
Make this make sense. Trump wants to get rid of all the black and brown immigrants in this country, but yet he wants to import white refugees from South Africa. Make it make sense.
In case you're wondering whether there's any racism in the Trump administration, consider this wild fact. So you know how they've basically stopped anybody from coming to the United States claiming refugee status? Well, they've decided to put an asterisk on that, and they're going to allow 8,000 South African Afrikaners to come here as refugees. Those are white people, by the way. So why are the white South Africans allowed to be classified as refugees and come to the United States, but a refugee from El Salvador is not allowed to, or a refugee from Panama, or a refugee from Peru? Why aren't they allowed? Well, I'll give you it's one thing. They're brown, those South Africans are white. There is very little evidence that these Afrikaners are being persecuted at home. The government's saying, we're not doing anything. No one else seems to be able to confirm that fact. Yet the Trump administration is going to leapfrog those 8,000 Afrikaners into the United States in front of everybody else. Now, I would assume that all of the Trump supporters who are against all refugees coming to the United States are going to be outraged about this, right? Right?
So South Africa's own government is even coming out today and telling Trump, if you want to take on these refugees, that's on you. But just so you know, none of them have been properly vetted. A lot of them have been involved in protests that are pro-apartheid. And on top of that, these guys are actually claiming that they're being persecuted for being white. I don't know if you know a whole lot about South Africa, where Elon Musk is from, but the apartheid just ended not very long ago. If you don't know what that is, it was mass segregation. South Africa's government also came out and added that it's really hard to be a refugee of persecution when you're amongst the most highest earners and highly educated in the entire region. But in my personal opinion, this kind of gives me remnants of Operation Paperclip, what the US government did after World War II. They got a little over 1,500 German scientists and high-ranking officials from the military, Hitler's military, to come over to the United States so they could learn from them. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 2 + 2 = 4. What Trump's been doing here in the United States as far as deporting individuals, they've all been brown people. And now he's more than willing to bring thousands of white people claiming they've been persecuted by brown people without even fully vetting them. The answer to this simple mathematical equation is Trump wants more white people in the United States. If it ain't white, it ain't right. And that's literally Trump's mindset. You can't prove me otherwise.
Here's Joe from Georgia. So Donald Trump earlier this year stopped letting refugees come into the United States. However, undoubtedly he's making an exception. He's making an exception for white residents of South Africa to come in refugee status here in the United States. They've even got their first plane load coming, which the United States government has arranged for them. Now, I do believe that most of us, when they say the word immigrants or refugees or whatever, they think of everybody. But now it's been reduced to an exception for white people only. So, once again, if we don't believe that this immigration war specifically is against black and brown people, you're not paying attention.
They only want white people here. Because when we think about refugees who need immediate resettlement, expedited screenings, we usually think about people who are fleeing extreme violence, persecution, famine, war in places like South Sudan, Myanmar, the Congo, not white Afrikaners. See that chartered plane the Trump administration is sending? It's not going to collect refugees that have been sitting in resettlement camps for years, fully vetted, waiting to come to the United States to escape violence. No, it's going to South Africa to collect white people who claim they're being discriminated against. Why would they be getting discriminated against? Probably because they spent generations instituting legalized forms of racial segregation and discrimination called apartheid, aka Stephen Miller's wet dream. See, while the rest of the world after World War II saw that maybe racial discrimination not such a hot idea and favored more policies of integration and away from colonization, Afrikaners doubled down on that shit and instituted apartheid. Although it ended over 30 years ago, the social and economic legacies of apartheid continue today. South Africa is the most unequal country in the entire world, according to the World Bank, with white South Africans earning over 12 times what black South Africans do. But don't worry, we're going to make sure that the white Afrikaners who instituted generations of discrimination and segregation against black people get everything they need to get started here in the United States in their new life.
The first Afrikaners granted refugee status due to arrive in the U.S. The U.S. government has officially granted 54 South Africans, white descendants of mainly Dutch colonizers, refugee status, and they are expected to land in the U.S. on Monday, May 12th. They are the first group of Afrikaners to be accepted by the U.S. after President Trump signed an executive order in February offering them possible resettlement. The Secretary of State and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall take appropriate steps consistent with the law to prioritize humanitarian relief, including admission and resettlement through the United States Refugee Admissions Program for Afrikaners in South Africa who are victims of unjust racial discrimination. They're gonna arrive at Dulles on Monday, and then there looks like states that have agreed to take in the South Africans are Alabama, California, Idaho, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, New York, Nevada, North Carolina, and Iowa, one source said. So maybe I'm stupid and maybe I'm slow, but can anybody please explain to me why we are taking in refugees who are suffering from racial discrimination into this country when this is happening? Army veteran and legal resident Marlon Paris is jailed in Arizona after an ICE ambush despite letters shielding him from deportation. Black veteran. 19-year-old Shimena Cristobal, a 19-year-old who was brought to America at age 4, got pulled over for not using a turn signal. She was shackled and is now in ICE custody for a month. A traffic violation, and she is now in ICE. She doesn't look very white. Or this fucking nonsense yesterday. New video shows close-up of ICE agents slamming the young woman's face into the ground during arrest in a neighborhood raid. I don't have anyone at home. They arrested my mom, my sister, and a 2-month-old baby. I'm gonna let you deduce on what color you believe her skin might be. This yesterday in my home state, ICE is staging a 19th Avenue and Thomas Phoenix. They're in a church parking lot. They were trying to detain people at a food bank. And then this yesterday, why Asian and Mexican immigrants moments away from being deported to Libya never left the U.S. Immigrants were woken up at 2:30 a.m. and boarded on a bus to wait for hours inside a military plane in Texas. They were sent back to solitary confinement. Yeah, these immigrants included people from the Philippines, Vietnam, Laos, and Mexico. They would later learn their attorneys filed an emergency motion after reports that the Trump administration had planned to send them to Libya, a country they have never heard of, been to, been a part of, anything. And then we get the Amerikaners. This is a site. Amerikaners.com is a fast path for whites in South Africa to become refugees who can then become citizens. What color is their skin? So I went over to their Twitter page and I just started going through it, and it is as bad as you think it would be. Right here on March 2nd, there's a tiny microcosm of this happening in South Africa, and it's a beautiful thing to behold. The rise of the Anglo-Saxon on the African continent made possible by Trump is palpable. The white race is waking up from a deep slumber. And it comments like this: no, we are actually all Afrikaners now. Fact is, we are all just European mongrels in 2025 having interbred for generations. Also, President Trump could hardly call us whites in the executive order because the media backlash would have been extreme. All that said, there's the OG Amerikaners that know full well we've done what is necessary to leave this shithole and help our fellow men and their families from safety. We're the quiet, powerful resistance made possible by our beloved President Trump. And then they reposted this just today. Right now, I'm genuinely embarrassed to be an American. That's Brian Krasenstein over on Twitter. And Gunther Eagleman, then leave. Andrea Shea, South Africa can have the Krasenstein brothers in exchange for all the Amerikaners. This is my final offer. I think it's fair. And the Amerikaners, they reposted that. Again, resettlement in America made easy. Join our mailing list. Your heritage. I am an Afrikaans of Dutch, German, Germanic, French descent. I am English of British descent, or I am other. Which category do you think they're going to pick up on first? If you cannot see what is happening, let me open your eyes, okay? President Trump's people will take the next election with ease. For the one after that, all the Amerikaners will be on board as citizens to make it a trifecta. So to recap, if you have brown skin and you are here legally, it doesn't even seem to matter to ICE anymore. But if you are white and you are in South Africa and you want to come here and start a whole brand new life because President Trump and Elon, welcome, right? We are waiting to find out if Kilmar is going to come back to have due process, right? We are taking babies who are breastfeeding off mothers, right off of their chest and just taking them. We are deporting people. We are not showing warrants. We are covering our faces. And it's only for those who don't look like me. But if you look like me, come on in, because the next time you vote, you'll vote fucking MAGA. I need you to wake the fuck up. I need you all to wake the fuck up and see that this is happening. We are going to be taking in 1,000 South African white maggots who are racially oppressed. And yet, every single day we turn on the news, somebody else has been disappeared without due process. Wake up.
Okay, guys, on my take on this is that, Afrikaners in South Africa are not struggling at all. You will find that majority of them have money. They are rich. They are living well off in South Africa. So whoever Afrikaner is feeling like they want to go abroad to America, it is for them, because standard of living in America is too expensive. That's a fact. We all know that all over the world that the standard of living in America is ridiculously high. Okay, I can make an example of all these European countries, these Western countries. Take England, take America, I don't know about Canada, but their currency is too high. So whereby I can make an example in South Africa, for you to buy a house that is 500 USD, because a 500,000 USD house in South Africa is equivalent of living in a rich community, in a gated community, sort of like something like a mansion. Because remember, this site, a 500 $100,000 USD house. It's a 10 million rent house, and if you're living in a house like that, we consider you rich. But in America, that's a different story. In America, that is like living in a middle class neighborhood, like in a simple middle class neighborhood. So for these South Africans to decide to move abroad and go to America, you find that most of them are suffering, are the ones who are suffering. And when I say most of them, it's not like all South African, because I heard that 800 of them applied for it and only 49 are going abroad. So yeah, man, after Trump has just issued most people, he is busy deporting people like crazy. He is deporting people left and right. And now he is taking white South Africans. So what does that tell you? That tells you that he is racist. These people are racist, man. I don't know, man. If you don't even want Mexicans, like the indigenous people of the Americas, you see, if you are only looking at deporting them, because one thing that we can agree upon is that America is a native land of all those Hispanic, Latinos, and Indians, those native Indians from America. So it will never be a white, even though predominantly majority of them are white people who are living there. But we will always remember America as a place where there is indigenous people are Indians and Hispanic Latinos. So, but yeah, man, I don't know, man, it really sounds like the Trump administration are a bunch of racist people. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm gonna say, because at the moment in America, people are chased after like dogs. They are chased after as if they do not belong there. To find that a person who grew up and now they are questioned of their belonging in that country. And now you're taking an immigrant from South Africa and then you're flying them all over to America with American tax dollars, with your American tax dollars. So yeah, man, I thank you for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe, and let's meet up to the next video. Peace out.